Jamie here from Sweet Sentiment, and I'm here to share with you just a few of the basic tools that I use for my crafting. I thought that it would be a great thing to share with you guys some of the brands and tools that I use just as a recommendation, so you can sort of have a starting place to go and be familiar with the things that I use in my videos. So let's start off with one of the most important things, and that's paper. I use the Catherine Pooler 100-pound white cardstock. This paper is great. It is a fantastic medium for your alcohol markers. It also works great with other mediums. I like to use it with distress inks and all sorts of stuff as well. But here's what the label looks like. It is Catherine Pooler 100-pound pure white cardstock. The stuff is fantastic. I usually cut it into quarters so that I have a stack of it on my desk that I can stamp right away. So that is one of the most important things right there, is choosing the right paper for you. I also, since we're talking about stamping, sorry I went off the screen there for a second, we're going to talk about inks. I tend to use the Memento inks the most. I have tried a couple of other brands and I keep on going back to Memento. This is a dye ink. I use the Tuxedo Black and Desert Sand. I am looking for something a little bit lighter than the Desert Sand to use for no lines coloring, but these are the two I use most often. They're carried in most craft stores, so you can actually go down to like Michael's, Hobby Lobby, something like that and get these, or you can order them from one of our sponsors. There's a lot of people that will carry these two specifically because they are so widely used in the craft world. So Memento, Tuxedo Black, or Desert Sand. Along with that, I have a MISTI stamping tool. These are fantastic. I actually only have the small one. This is called the Mini MISTI. Like I said, I cut my paper into quarters so it fits in here perfectly. This is actually about a 5x7, so you can fit fairly large images in here. The great thing is it has this grid so you can line up your stamps. It has little magnets so that your paper stays in place, and you can either remove the foam or leave the foam in there depending on if you're using red rubber stamps or the photopolymer stamps. Helps it so that if you don't get a clear stamped image the first time, you can re-stamp it because everything stays in the same place. Love my Mini MISTI. The other thing I use is a stamp chamois. Look at how grody this thing is, and yet it still works perfectly, like it's fresh and new right out of the package. This is made by Lawn Fawn. It is a stamp chamois, and yes, people, it works exactly like a normal chamois does. You get it wet, you wipe off your stamp with it, that's it. So you just get it wet, wring out all the excess water, and you use it to clean your stamps as you stamp. I love this thing, and this is the only one I've ever had. I've had this for a couple of years now. It looks absolutely grody, and yet it works perfect. So stamp chamois, definitely important to clean off your stamps. This is a really great tool to have. Next, I use Cutter Bee scissors. These scissors are incredible. I've had these ones for about 2 years and they're still super sharp. I love them because the blades are nice and thin so that I can get into all of those little tiny crevices and areas that you need to be able to get into when you're fussy cutting an image. For those of you who are not aware of what fussy cutting is, it's when you cut out an image just like I have on this side. So I'm starting to fussy cut this image, it's halfway or partway cut out. That's what fussy cutting is. There are machines that do this. Brother Scan and Cut is a perfect example of a machine that does this type of thing, and I prefer to just do it by hand. So me and my trusty Cutter Bees, that's what we do. We cut things out. Love my Cutter Bee scissors. Now, as far as coloring goes, there's a couple of tools that I tell you must have. The Copic Colorless Blender. The Colorless Blender I use on pretty much every single thing that I color. The title of it, a colorless blender, is kind of a misnomer, but that's okay. I will teach you how to use it in the series of Sweet Sentiment classes. But just know the colorless blender is something that I rely on heavily, and I also have the big refill for the colorless blender. These are important. You won't need this right away. This will get you through for a long time, but the solution for the colorless blender is also very important for cleaning your nibs and that sort of thing, and we'll get into that in a marker maintenance video. I won't get all technical with it now, but definitely important colorless blender. This is a must have. I also use a Copic multi-liner. These are, oops, I have it upside down. This is the .03. This is a very tiny tip. I would suggest getting a multi-liner or 2 or 3. They generally will come in a combination pack of 3 or 4 of these. You don't have to get the Copic brand, but just make sure you're getting some sort of pigment ink. It's important that you get the pigment ink so that it doesn't bleed on any of your alcohol inks. So the pigment ink multi-liners, just grab a pack of them. We use them in my classes so much because I use them, especially when I do no lines coloring, to add back in like eyeliner and eyelashes and those sort of things that you really need to pop. So this is definitely something I use a lot of. The better and steadier your hand is with them, the smaller you can go. So the .03 is quite small because I'm used to using them. So like I said, if you get a multi-pack, you can get used to what you're using, okay? I have a Sharpie white paint pen. This just has a simple tip. This is a fine tip, although it's not super fine. This says that it's extra fine point. It's just a regular paint pen. I use this to add little details in, whether it's snowflakes, whether it's highlights in the eyes, things on folds and pleats and that sort of thing. I use this paint pen quite a bit actually. So you can go to pretty much any store and get a Sharpie paint pen. I suggest you try to find the extra fine point because when you're talking about images that are very small, the extra fine point is definitely what you need. If you look at her eyes, that's what I'm talking about. That's where I use this. So little dots in her eyes, that's where you get the fine point paint pen from, okay? Talking Copics, I use the Sandy Allnock hex chart. Try to say that 10 times fast. This hex chart is super important. Guys, you can use this, you can actually, it's a digital download, so you can print it smaller and stick it in your bag. When you go Copic shopping, you know which blends to use because the hex numbers are next to each other. And you can also track what markers you already have and don't have. So it does come with the full color and it comes with the grays. And I just put this in a plastic sleeve. I have it on my desk and I use it constantly. So you will always see me referring to this amazing hex chart. Sandy did a fantastic job on it. It's from sandyallnock.com. You can see right there. I believe it's a $5 digital download. Definitely worth the $5, people. This is an incredible chart. I use it all the time and you will see me refer to it all the time. And as I was growing my Copic collection, it was fantastic because I wasn't going there blind. I could say, oh, I have this marker. I need to make a blend with this marker, so I could check what was around it to be able to make a blend with that marker. So I wasn't just kind of shooting in the dark trying to find markers that were maybe in the same family or something. So definitely something very important to get. I also suggest that you get some sort of paper to put down on your work surface. This is from Stampin' Up. I don't even know if they make this anymore, but it's just a pad of paper, essentially. It's a pad of graph paper that you use to set down on your desk. This will do a couple of things for you. First, it's the surface has a little bit of give to it because it's paper, so it's not rigid and hard just like your desk. It's still a very firm surface, but it does have a little bit of give to it for your coloring. That's really important. Secondly, you can clean up very quickly. All you do is rip off the paper and you have a fresh slate. So that's fantastic. The third thing is if you're coloring properly, the back of your image will look like this. The front of my image and the back of my image. You don't want that alcohol ink to bleed through on your nice wooden desk, or it will eat away at the stain on your desk. So it could ruin the surface of your desk. So having the paper underneath is a great way to protect your work surface. Also, I use the white paper to kind of use tick marks with my markers to make sure that I like my color blend that I've chose, or to, you know, if there happens to be some sort of gunk on my marker or something like that. I use it to kind of stamp off my stamps and my markers and all of that sort of stuff. So it's kind of like a scribble pad. Definitely I recommend. Another great thing to use instead of this Stampin' Up! Pad is the desk calendars that they have at the store. $4 or $5 at Walmart, and you just get one of the big desk calendars, lay it out there. It's a great thing to use for that. So really simple, yet very, very functional. Let's talk about glue and tape for embellishments. I like to use the Nuvo glue. Nuvo glue has worked out great for me. I've also used the Tombow glue. They both are fantastic. You want to use glue sparingly because we are talking about paper crafts, and your paper will warp if you use too much glue. So I glue like flowers and that sort of thing onto my cards. This is a great glue for that. But for the most part, I use tape. This is a Tombow snail adhesive liner, and basically it's just a refillable cartridge. So when you run out of tape, you toss it, you grab a new one, you pop it on, and you're good to go. I like this because it fits in my hand, so I can tape properly like this. The other cool thing about it is that it's very, very compact. So you can take it with you anywhere if you happen to be traveling or something like that. It's really easy to take with you. It holds quite a bit of tape. Love it. Great price point. I do have a larger tape gun for when I'm really into taping stuff down, but I don't use this as much. I really tend to use this. I like that it fits in my hand. I like that it's nice and simple, and I kind of leave it on my desk. It just floats around my desk all the time. Very good thing to have. The last thing I'm going to show you, or one of the last things I'm going to show you, is a tube of things called glossy accents. This adds cute little accents to your coloring. So if you happen to color something that's glass, or say spectacles, or you know, a drinking glass, a bottle, anything like that, you can add a little bit of glossy accents to it to really make it pop. I will be using this throughout my classes on some really cool stuff just to show you. Adds that little bit of extra to your coloring and to your card. Glossy accents are definitely really fun to have. This is a Ranger product, so the same people that make oxide inks and that sort of thing make this glossy accents. Really, really fun stuff to have. Okay, so that's it for right now. Oh no, sorry, I lied. One more thing. This is an eraser. You know those gummy erasers? This is from Faber-Castell, and this is just one of those gummy erasers. Yes, I use this with Copic coloring, and I'll show you how and why in my Sweet Sentiment coloring videos. But this is something that is very important to have with coloring and your Copic markers. I like the gummy erasers. I don't like the regular pink erasers. This has a specific purpose in your Copic coloring, and it's more than just stress relief. So, a Faber-Castell gummy eraser is definitely something I recommend. So, if you want to learn more about all of this stuff, join the Facebook group Sweet Sentiment, and I will be posting all kinds of fun stuff for you guys. I thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to teaching you guys coloring and tips and tricks and all sorts of fun things. So have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Toodles!